I thank you for the many letters that you write to me of love and gratitude, and I can't answer them all. You will appreciate that, but I read them all, and I thank you for them. Whatever you thank me for is a recognition of that inside of you which is worthy of thanks, appreciation, love. For I am nothing except the truth I am, and that truth is in you. And when you appreciate what the truth here is given to you, it is an acknowledgement of your own truth. That's the way the spiritual life works. What you acknowledge, you get. Once in a relationship you stop acknowledging. Once in a relationship you stop acknowledging each other. I would say every moment, every hour that you're together. Once you stop acknowledging each other, living death sets in. You start to become familiar. For familiarity comes from not acknowledging. And the beauty and wonder that you had when your two bodies first came together gradually diminishes with the familiarity and the thinking that you know each other, so that you can just acknowledge your work, acknowledge your problems, acknowledge your emotions, and therefore bring those negative things to you because you continued to acknowledge them. When you acknowledge the good in your life, and there's plenty of it, I don't care what's happened to you. If you stood in front of me, I would show you what was good in your life. And I would show you that you are not being worthy to life, honourable to life, because you're still depressed about your own selfish considerations. You are acknowledging the unhappiness in you, and therefore you draw more of the same to you. But when you acknowledge the goodness in your life, which is in everybody's life this moment, then that goodness, somehow or other, and we can't say how, returns to you. You must acknowledge what you love. And if you truly love life, and who doesn't love life? Every one of us loves life. Then acknowledge it, a gratitude, not for anything in particular, but the whole lot of it, your life, the whole lot of your life. Acknowledge the whole of it. But the human mind is such a divider, such a spoiler, that it likes to select the negative in the life, the living life. Does it not? Does it not focus on your problem, on what you're depressed about, on what happened that disturbed you? Does it not keep going back to that, going back to that? When the whole of life is hardly that. I mean, you are breathing. That's part of your living life. You are breathing. What a wonderful thing. I don't know whether you've ever been sort of asthmatic or something like that, where you didn't know that you could take your next breath. My God, then you would know how beautiful it is to breathe. Alone to breathe, and to walk upright and sprightly, to be able to move your body because there's people here that can't. How wonderful it is to be mobile. Because when it's taken from you, you'll know what it's like to lose it. So I'm talking about the simple things to acknowledge. My life is good. And if you bring unhappiness into your life through your selfish actions and your stupid decisions and wrong choices, then you've made it. And you'll have to acknowledge that. And until you can stop acknowledging your depressions and unhappiness as the major function in your life, you're going to bring it to you. More and more of it. More loneliness. More escapism, trying to escape from yourself. That's what happens when you acknowledge your emotions as the greater part. And that's what you do until such times as every hour you've just got a subconscious, which is really an unconscious movement out of gratitude for what you have now, this moment. That's the love of God. For God is all. God is nothing in particular. God is nothing in particular whatever. And if you objectify God, you miss the point of what God is. God is everything now that is good. And what about the bad? What about the not so good? What about the emotions and the unhappiness and the crying and the broken hearts? Isn't that God too? No. God is only good. That's man-made and woman-made. Oh, don't put that on God, please. You made the choice that made you unhappy. You're the one that did it. Or if I'm unhappy, I'm the one that's doing it. Not God, for God is only good. And that's the error in man and woman. They think their emotions are God-given. They think their negativity is God-given. It's not. It's all made by man and woman's wrong choices, wrong attitude, wrong positioning, wrong everything, thinking. God is only what is good. And my life is good. The whole of my life is good. So the whole of my life is God. That's acknowledging what is. And the whole of your life is good, and the whole lot of your life is God. But you want to focus on man-made and woman-made things, such as depression and unhappiness and loneliness. And because you can't face the fact of death, if you start mourning over the one who's dead, you can't face the fact that everything dies and you've got to do something, and you've got to hold on to the dead. And they wouldn't have died if you're supposed to hold on to them, would they? But then it is human nature to be selfish and hold on vigorously even to that says, free me, let me go, let me go. No, you can't go, I'm too lonely, I'm too unhappy. And so you hold back something, and you'll never be free. And you'll never get the mystery of death while you're alive. The mystery of death is life now. Now, this moment. So now I'd like to sing you a little song. It's from my Songs of Life tape. And if you don't have my Songs of Life tape, I suggest you get a copy as fast as you can. Because I'm one of the few people in the whole world who's ever written anything, who lives every moment what I have written in songs or poems. Because all the popular music that you listen to and all the wailers All those wailing women, all those wailing men that go on and on and on about how unhappy they are, or the sexual innuendos in their songs. Move it for me, baby. Well, I'll tell you, baby, you don't want to move it for me if you ever make love with me. I want you to be still. I want you to make love, not to move it for me. Thank you very much. Or I can't get no satisfaction. Stupid men, stupid singers who don't live, or they live what they sing, yeah. Broken-hearted, I'm broken heart, my lover has left me. They live that. Broken hearts, betrayals, all the rest of it. They live that, so they get it, and they never get out of it. But my songs are about you. Every song in my Songs of Life tape is about you and your life and spiritual life and the road to God, the way to God. The road only be the diminution, the execution of yourself. That's the only road. Otherwise, there's no path to God whatever. God is here now. You don't need a path to it. You just have to dissolve yourself, your selfishness. That's all. And then God is, and life is, and there is no death. Now, this little song is called The Place of the Sinking Heart. Oh, the place of the sinking heart is the place of the thinking heart. And if you think, then you must drink at the place of the sinking heart. Your thought is but spawn of the past, caught on memory's treacherous cast. And if you think, then you must drink at the place of the sinking heart. I'm going to sing it again. Oh, the place of the sinking heart is the place of the thinking heart. And if you think, then you must drink at the place of the sinking heart. Your thought is but spawn of the past, caught on memory's treacherous cast. And if you think, then you must drink at the place of the sinking heart. Now you know what this song is saying. You have been there. And yet still, you continue more or less to think, to entertain your mind and emotions with thought, which what leads you to weeping or unhappiness or loneliness as a consequence. Oh, not immediately. You can think on and have a good time thinking on today, thinking about the past, because that's all you can ever think about. And the consequences of that thinking comes not necessarily immediately, but in the future, tomorrow, next week, when you get depressed or unhappy. So I want to speak to you about thinking and looking. And I don't want you to confuse with looking that I spoke about yesterday with looking and seeing. I'm talking about looking as putting the attention on something, not the ignorant attention on something like the sexual look of a woman or some negative thing. I'm talking about intelligent looking. And then I'm talking about thinking. Now, all thinking is about the past. You cannot think about now, this moment in time. You cannot think about it, but you can think about the past. As soon as you take one thought now, you're in the past. You're not conscious. You're not here. Because intelligence is supposed to be here, now, and then it becomes consciousness. But as soon as you take one thought at any time of the day about the past, you're not here. And sooner or later, not very long, if you start thinking about the past, the divided mind, which is always looking for the unhappiness, will lead your thoughts into thoughts about a previous lover who broke your heart, some relationship or event that is pressing hard on you, or seems to be, because you think about it instead of taking action. And so your mind will always, you can start lying in bed and thinking about the good movie that you saw, or the good play that you saw, or the lovely day that you had with someone, and that is going to lead you into thinking tomorrow morning or the next day about some unhappy event or person in your life. Because the divided mind will always take you towards what the only thing it knows is unhappiness or excitement. So the mind will think about what excited you, because the mind only has two modes. What excited me and what depresses me. Anything in between quickly becomes boredom. Have you noticed? The mind lives off some sort of excitement, and we, because we are frontal creatures, because we have minds, we need to have entertainment. And there's nothing wrong with entertainment as long as it does not become the major thing in our lives. And the truthiness soon informs us when entertainment is becoming excessive. And the truth in us will, by its very presence, suggest that there must be some sort of willing and not to go into excess of entertainment. But there is nothing wrong with entertainment as long as you don't get excited about it. But what I'm talking about is the difference between thinking and looking. Now, you are looking now at the speaker. You're looking with your ears, you're hearing. Your ears are only the means. You're looking with your hearing, and you're looking with your eyes, and you're looking with your presence. So there's no thought in what you're doing now. There is the intelligence, which, if sufficient, becomes consciousness present in your body now. So you'll notice that you are in your senses. You are hearing, which comes through the ears, and you are seeing, which comes through the eyes, and you are present, which is present in the body, without thinking, without reference to the past. You are then more or less intelligent. And the stiller that you become, the more you are able to be in your senses of hearing, seeing, tasting, touch feeling, and the other senses. But what we do is go into our self, which is the past, and think about ourself. So when you think about your past, the past, you're thinking about yourself. And as I've told you, for you to examine in your own experience, yourself is the unhappy spoiler within your body, made by man and woman's wishing, hoping, wanting, trying, instead of simply doing. Now, you cannot look if you are emotional. In any situation where you are emotional, that means where you got a feeling about a situation, about a person, an event, where you have a feeling about it, which means a reaction, you cannot look straight, because emotions always go in circles. And so your intelligence then becomes degraded, corrupted, polluted by your emotional condition. And so when you try to look straight when you're emotional, and how often do you really think you're seeing things straight, you are really going in a circle, round and back on yourself, and round, and nothing is straight. Because it takes great straightness, which means great presence, great intelligence, great presence to be able to go through the emotion which is around us from all of the unhappiness of men and women in this world, to go through all that which surrounds us as our own emotion or that of the collective emotion of an ignorance of the entire society. You've got to be able to go through that straight and see the fact. Now, the fact is not an interpretation, because emotion's always interpreting. If you're emotional, you're interpreting events. That's what makes you emotional, because you can't interpret events. You have to see the fact in the event, and then that reveals what is true in the situation or that fact. So you've got to be able to look, and you have to understand that if you're emotional in any way whatever and you think you've really seen something, you have not. You are deluded, because you're not seeing straight. You're going around in circles like society does, the whole lot of them. Dishonest, unhappy, depressed one day, joyous and excited the next, and all the rest of it, instead of being straight now and able to see through all the rubbish of society and of emotions and unhappiness. And that, as I say, takes enormous presence to really see through to the fact. And the more that I can practice seeing the fact by giving up my emotional interpretation of things, the more that I can see the fact in my everyday life, in every moment of my life, it is then possible to see the truth. But you cannot see the truth until you see the fact. That's the law. That's how it is. But people come and want to get the truth from me and go to masters and everything, hoping to get the truth. And all they get is a change of mind, which they think is the truth. Because the whole life does not change. It only changes to the mind's satisfaction when any change occurs. Any change that is the truth comes from the truth. It's absolutely forever and ever and ever and never changes again. That's the truth. But so many people go to different masters and different things and come to me as well and have a change of mind, which is so refreshing to have a change of mind. But does it endure? Does it endure forever, or do you go back still thinking about the good old days, thinking about the love that you made last time, how good it was, against the love that you're making now? Well, that's pure interpretation and pure expectation and pure ignorance. You cannot compare any moment now with a moment before. I know you think you can. I know the whole human race thinks you can, but you can't do that. It's not real. It's not the truth. And of course, the whole human race does not see the fact and does not certainly see the truth. The only time the human race sees the fact is when there is personal self-interest and personal gain and getting there. Business is a good example of it. As long as you run a business to gain, then the businessman, even though he could be an emotional wreck, which is unusual because in the business part of it, he can't be an emotional wreck or he wouldn't be able to do any business. So he keeps the emotional wreckage for his wife and family and his friends. But he keeps to the fact of his self-interest. He keeps that and therefore clears the path to its greed and unhappiness. He keeps those out here, but they infest him because he worships something that is not true. But he can do that. So the secret is to a practice in being present, like now. That's one of the advantages coming and being with me. You are actually practicing hearing through your ears, being present in your body as your body, seeing with your eyes. But it's not your eyes that are seeing. It's something behind your eyes. So you're practicing that by being here. Now when you go out of this room and you start talking, and that's okay. But if the more that you talk, the more you will start to think. Especially when you discuss anything to do with love, life, truth, death, or God. Of course, you can discuss all the other things, or in business and other activities associated with commerce or anything. It is necessary to have reflections from those who are engaged in the operation, so that you get a reflection from some other position, some other aspect where that person occupies. And that's all right. So what you discuss there is, now what do you discuss? Every company or organization, everything has an aim. And the aim is, probably in commerce, to make more money. To be more successful in the sense of making more money. And so everyone in commerce is supposed to work towards that aim. And that's right. If you're working for someone, you find out what the aim is, and you work towards that aim if you're part of the team. If you want to be a maverick, then you don't, and that won't work for long because they'll sack you or get rid of you. You work towards the aim. And that's all right. And you discuss there. Someone puts forward an idea, and you look at it, and you say, yeah, that looks as though that might work. And then someone starts going off, putting in their emotional interpretation of things. And you'd say, what are you saying? You're attached to what you're saying. It's not straight enough. You haven't got it right. That's how it works. And so you get emotional people at work and all sorts of things that can't keep to the aim, but they only keep to their feelings and emotions, and therefore conflict comes in. But that's inevitable in every business. But we're talking about spiritual life, aren't we? Love, life, truth, death, and God. No business is concerned with that. No business is aiming at that. So we, the people who are robbed by the banks, let's say, we don't understand what the aim of the banks is. Not really. The idea is for the banks to make more and more and more money. That's the aim. Don't let's break it down like the politicians would and say, well, this is unfair. Well, they're going to milk you for every bit you can get because that's their aim. So don't be surprised, although we all are, at their ingeniousness at being able to get more out of us. But that's their aim. They're true to their aim. And as far as being sorry for the people they sack and all the branches they close, that's only connected with the aim. We can't afford to pay people. People are the most expensive thing on the face of the earth in the Western society. So what do? You get rid of as many people as you can and install machines or computers. That's part of the aim. People are terribly expensive to employ. You should know that. And so the idea of commerce is to get rid of as many people as possible, except, of course, the guys on the board. Yeah. Any rate, this is society, isn't it? I'm just telling you, they stick to the aim, and they're true to the aim. You know, in the spiritual life, there is a sort of an aim in the beginning. And what's the aim? Well, it depends on what master you hear, what master you listen to. I told you about one book yesterday, The Power of Now, and you could see that I demonstrated now, and it wasn't the power of now, it's the power of surrender. And that certainly is a power, but it's not now. Everything you do is now. I mean, I'm speaking now, aren't I? You're blinking now. If you blinked, if you blanked, if you blunked. Yeah. Everything happens now. So what's, in the first instance, the aim is? What is the aim of the spiritual life in the first instance? And the aim is to reduce myself, to reduce my selfishness, to reduce my thinking. Now, why do I think? Why do I think? Why does everybody think? Everybody thinks because everybody is emotional. Everybody has hidden down inside their body the emotions of yesterday. And it takes a long, long time to reach down with the truth. First of all, to stay with the fact, and then to reach down and see the fact inside yourself, and to see then that it reveals the truth inside yourself, and that goes down and gradually dissolves all this dreadful old stuff down there. It's a bit like colonic irrigation, if you don't mind me talking about this subject too. You see, in colonic irrigation, the colon, which goes from the anus over here, over to the big colon here, goes down to where the small intestines, the digestive system, joins up with the big colon there. And it's got a little flap on it. I forget the name of it. And that's to prevent what's in the colon and ready to be excreted from coming back into the small intestines. And it's got a little flap, or not a flap, but whatever it is, a valve. And in here is all our yesterdays of food. And what we've ingested is booze and drink and water and all the stuff that gradually becomes a substance, and it is rejected now by the small intestines and goes in the big intestine, they call it, which is the colon, and it's supposed to move up here. All the time the body's still taking some good out of it that might be left in it, and up here, past close to the liver here, and over the top here, and all the excreta is gradually going over to come out down here at the anus. Now that's quite a long journey, and particularly when the colon is like the old Electrolux tubes, or really old ones. They're all crinkled, to give it more length without taking up much space. So if you could extend the colon out, really, it'd probably reach from here to the wall over there. But it's a perfect and wonderful, glorious, wonderful, magnificent creation. And the point that I'm making is that because of the way that we live, and because of mostly our tensions and strains, I'm not going to get into the food thing, thank you very much. I'm not going to get into the raw food against all the juices you should be having, against all the vitamins you should be taking and all the alternatives. I'm not going to get into that crap. What I'm concerned about is the main food of the human body, which is harmony, lack of discord in yourself, because that affects your colon and everything. But now our colons have got what they call impacted. In other words, the stuff that was here as a child that passed through so easily, right through like that, gradually through our stresses and strains, starts to become impacted and starts to line the colon with old stuff, and then it gradually starts to get narrower and narrower, and that's where constipation happens, and narrower and narrower, and over here, and that gets compacted up here, and you can often get a blockage up here, and that blockage cuts it off, and sometimes you get cancer because it should be free flowing, you see. And that's an analogy of the spiritual life, where everything in existence takes its rise from some reality in the spiritual life. And so colonic irrigation is to come in from the other side, the anal side, and try to put some water up there and clear it out. But my goodness, when you get over here, it's so compacted that the chances of really clearing it out are not great. So the idea with the spiritual life is to gradually clear yourself out, which is constricting yourself, your unhappiness, your emotion, which constricts your psychic flow, which is supposed to be just the same. You see, you ingest life. It goes through the process of digestion of life through the small intestine. It's a clear flowing thing, but unless you have tensions and unhappiness in you, it's not so clear flowing then. And then it goes down and down into yourself, and you're supposed to have this psychic flow, this glorious, invisible psychic flow. no blockage, no thinking to stop the beautiful psychic flow which comes from the deep psyche inside, the pure psyche inside your body. So we're talking about something that comes up. We're not talking about the physical mechanism which takes its rise from that. We're talking about now about the pure psychic intake, the wonder of life, which is part of the pure psychic intake. From the pure psyche which is made by God, the intake of the nourishment of God, the nourishment of the beauty of the life. And that's taken into you. And that goes down into yourself, which is impacted down there, right down below there. It's so old and impacted that the chances of removing it, you can't remove it in a week, you can't remove it in 2 months, you can't remove it in 2 years. It takes the whole process of the whole life until you're 70 or 80 to really remove it, if you're lucky. Because the past is impacted in us. And everybody wants to be made enlightened or pure in 5 minutes. And you can't do it. Because the whole life, until the moment of your death, is necessary to clear out yourself, to clear out the blockages in you. Until when you're about to die, you are innocent, as it were, because you've cleared out yourself. You've got the free flow. And then, of course, there is no death, because the free flow of life informs you by transmission or something, by presence, that there is no death, and you no longer fear death. Because you have no death in your body, you see. You only fear death when you have death in your body, which is impacted self. Now all of us are caught in a society. We are all caught in a past, an historical past of our society, of the human race. And so we all start off impacted to begin with. Even the newborn child is impacted, not in the physical colon, as it were, but impacted in the self, because the sins of the fathers and the mothers unto the 50th and 1000th generation shall fall upon the children. And we are the children. And we are impacted with the ignorance of our society since it began. So it's not easy. And each of us has the burden that we picked up as a child when we were born. You have to take your share of the burden of human ignorance. Now, I know everybody thinks how lovely it is and the big celebration when the child's born, but I wouldn't bother celebrating if I were you. I would see the beauty of the birth, I would see the beauty of the little body, I would see the sheer beauty of the little child, the child's body. But you don't see what's inside it. That everybody that's born must take up its share of human ignorance, which has been put there by man and woman without the knowledge or love of God or truth, who could not see the fact because all they wanted was their feelings and emotions, and therefore twisted the pure psyche into the psychic, which now runs most of our lives through feeling. So you don't start off pure at all. It is the beautiful body created by God which starts off pure, and you can see it in every child, the beauty of that little body, the beauty of the hair, the sweetness of it, the flesh, the bottom, the hands, the feet. Everything is so beautifully made, like the little calves that are born, or the little rabbits or anything, or the little dogs. Everything is so beautifully formed by God. Who else do you think formed it? The scientists? They think the scientists know what they're doing? No. Everything natural is formed by God, the creator of this wonderful, wonderful, glorious planet, even though it's only a sensory planet. What a magnificent creation. But all the error in it is made by man's and woman's minds and emotions, which they thought, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's gone somewhere. They don't even think it's gone anywhere. The only thing is it's gone into the psyche, just inside the body, where everything is preserved. All emotions are preserved there. So then we've got to cope with that too. And we're emotional, then we track the emotions of the human race and the psychic, and oh my God, what a mess. So we don't start off so innocent as it would appear that we are. What God created is innocent and beautiful, but what man and woman have created is abominable, diabolical. And it's not long before the child starts straining in its wheelchair and going red-faced. And the psyche, that beautiful body, have you noticed how it changes? The ugliness that comes over that beautiful young body, all red and flaming, and the plastic psyche, which controls the look of the body, changes within from the unhappiness. And you see such evil in the child's face, such incredible evil and wrongness. Well, are you honest enough to have seen that? Or you want to say, poor little darling can't help it. No, poor little darling can't help it, but poor little darling is being possessed by our ignorance. And every time someone dies, your father or your mother, and leaves behind their emotion, no doubt they're very beautiful, and when they're dead, they're lovely. But what do they leave behind? What are you going to leave behind? Are you going to leave your emotions behind, or are you going to leave nothing behind for the poor little children to have to take on from you? You're going to die innocent, where there's nothing in you? And so be a true lover of humanity, that you would sacrifice yourself for the greater good of the people or the children. Now that's love. But what does society know about that? Well, you know about it. You know about it. And that's the purpose of this existence, so that you gradually give up and die to what man and woman have treasured as their love, their emotions, and you stand against it. And you say, no, 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 I want something that is worthwhile, and I only know it's to do with love, life, truth, death, and God. And I cannot discuss that. I have to do it. And how do I do it? Well, the first thing is I've got to give up my anger, my resentment, my wanting, my competing, my jealousy. I've got to give all that up, because that's going on forever in this society. And to do that, I have to be able to see the fact. Otherwise, you'll see you'll see the justification of your feelings, of your emotions. You will actually justify them. You will say, well, I've got a right to be angry because look what he or she did to me. And the whole world would say, you certainly have. You certainly got a right to be angry. And I say, you have no right whatever to be angry. You can indeed resort to all the lawful means of taking the person to court, of doing what you can do, but you have no right to be angry. It doesn't mean that you have to love the other person. It just means that you do not get angry. For you have allowed yourself to become angry and you justify it. And you have no right whatever, any more than I have, of getting angry. And the same applies to jealousy and wanting and trying and competing. So to get rid of anger, you have to see the fact. What am I angry about? Now we're down to it. Are you getting it? What am I angry about? And you have to be terribly honest, because your mind and feelings will justify that you have a right to be angry. But you have to be stronger than that and know that anger is not a virtue and anger is not a right. It's an imposition. It's a selfish application of yourself. What are you angry about when you get angry? You're angry because somebody has crossed your will and you can't get your way. So you get angry. Well, haven't you seen life? Don't you know that there's all these thousands of millions of wills, all striving for self-satisfaction? How did you ever think that you weren't going to be crossed in your particular will? It is the way of life for you to be crossed. And also that's how God serves you, to send you another force that prevents you from getting your way. For it's all controlled by God, who will always, if you are a willful person, an angry person, you will get more wills coming against you, so that you have to fight harder and harder to get your way. And the more that you fight, the more self you generate. And the more opposition you have. And the more chance you have of a heart attack or the wrong choice of a man or woman and all the things that go wrong with people's lives. So I want to know every time you get angry, I want you to tell me inside without saying a word, what the hell are you angry about? Because you want the impossible? We get angry because we can't do the impossible even. That's how stupid we are. If a thing's impossible to do, then it's impossible to do now. It mightn't be impossible tomorrow, but that's a different matter. You're getting angry because you can't do what's impossible. Now that's stupidity. You get angry because you want your way. Well, you must give up that. And resentment. You hold the things against people in your subconscious. Down there in the compaction of yesterday, in the blockages of yesterday, you resent people because you haven't heard me. I'm not saying that everyone here hasn't heard me. But many people listen to me and don't hear me. And in one of my tapes, I think it's my meditation tape, Start Meditating Now, I tell you what to do to get rid of your resentment is to free your prisoners. Everybody's walking around with prisoners in their chest, emotional prisoners. Oh, you think you're all right, when it's a lovely day and you're walking around and you've got all these prisoners in your chest. Someone that did something to you 10 years ago, some previous lover, all little emotional entities in your chest. They're in prison in your chest. And they come and assert themselves from time to time in your brain and your feelings. And you are a slave to these prisoners that you keep in your chest, in your body, instead of opening up the gates and let everything go and be naked and say, I have no place for anything else inside of me. I can have nothing inside of me. But that's very rare, isn't it? We all love to hold our prisoners of the past. And then, of course, what happens? You can't help thinking about them because they're in your body. And from time to time, you'll think about what they did to you. And you'll think more and more about it and justify how resentful you are and justify it. And you can't forget them because you're always thinking about them and because you've got them there close to you, imprisoned. You see, this life is not what you think it is at all, this living life. It is all a psychic life. There is nothing in your body. Your external actions are nothing. They're worth that, like mine are. It comes from within. You're either psychically possessed in one way or another. You're psychically possessed by resentment, by anger, by jealousy, by wanting, by trying. All these are psychic possessions. because your body doesn't want any of them. All your body wants is food when it needs it, or rest when it needs it, or the comfort of the love of some other body. It doesn't need much. It's the inner psychic thing that's possessed us. It's what needs it all and spoils everything. So to see the fact, you have to be in your senses. You have to walk around, see the trees, see the bush, without looking at them. You have to be able to see the whole lot. You know, it's all a passing parade. It's wonderful. You know, the flowers are here and you don't hold on to the flowers. The people are here and you're walking around and you're in your senses. You're hearing whatever's coming through your ears. You're just utterly and completely in your senses. But as soon as you think, then you will suffer, because you will be unconscious and you will be out of your senses. For your body is the purest thing in your existence, is your body. That's the purest thing in your existence, and not anything inside you, thank you very much. So you must come back to your senses. There is a term for it in the old sayings, to come to your senses. Well, that's what the spiritual life's about, to come back to your senses, to see and just see without needing to look, unless you have to look at something. Then you can focus on it. But what do you need to look at and focus on? The most important thing people think in the spiritual life is to look into the can of worms that is their feelings and emotions and try to sort out the emotions. Disaster. If you go in and try to sort out your emotions or think about your emotions or try to isolate them or do something about them, it is disaster. It is the acknowledgement of your emotions, which, as I say, is like a can of worms down there inside of you. And everybody knows what a can of worms is doing. A can of worms is moving like a can of worms. And that's your emotions forever and ever. If you go in there and start to dissect your emotions, consider your emotions, to focus on your emotions, you are never, ever, ever going to get rid of them or dissolve them, or you dissolve your attachment to them. You have to stay up here in your senses and stop acknowledging your emotions and feelings. Stop giving in to them. Be true to the situation, not your feelings. Every situation has a truth in it. Every single one that you could mention to me has a truth in it. Sometimes it's like someone mentioned the other day, a very difficult situation, and all I could say to them was the truth. You better accept it as it is. You must accept, you must stop fighting. You must take every legal action, but you must stop fighting. You must accept that this is how the situation is for now. It might be different tomorrow, but you must accept it. But what do? We want to fight and think about it. What am I going to do next? Instead of looking at what you can do next. And if you look at what you can do next, you won't be looking for long. You'll see that you've done everything that you possibly can up to now. And so you rest. You don't have to look anymore. But 5 minutes, an hour's time, you can look again, because this life is always moving on. But if you start thinking about it, you'll go over and over the same old thing, working out solutions, and then you'll lie awake at night thinking and thinking and thinking, which of course is called worry. Now, if you indulge in thinking in the good times, like today when you go out into the world after being with me, if you start thinking and discussing things, which is a form of thinking, you're going to be worried. You are then acknowledging worry. When the pressures of the emotions come on you, you won't be able to stop thinking, which is worry. You have to stop the thinking now in the good times. Because I tell you, in the bad times, you have no chance whatever of stopping them, because you have already acknowledged them. You acknowledged your emotions in the good times when there was no need to think whatever, but you just couldn't do it because you just robotically think and think and think. Instead of in your senses. You cannot think when you're in your senses. It's impossible. It's when you quit your senses, become unintelligent, that you think. All right then. I trust I've imparted enough to help you in this matter. I have a tape, How to Stop Thinking. If you want some help, I suggest you get that. I suggest you get my Songs of Life tape if you don't have it. And I suggest you play these if you have got them. Not put them against the wailing singers and amongst that in your library. The wailers and the wanters, and the wishers and the hopers, who don't live what they say, what they wish for. They just live their unhappiness. And I've got a tape there called Meditate. Start Meditating Now, I think it's still called, where it talks about prisoners, holding your prisoners and letting them go. I have a tape on just about everything in the spiritual life or in your life. It is better to listen to those and a minimum of the wailers, the wailing men and women who only live the negative that they sing about and not the good and the true of love now. So thank you all once again for being with me, and let's go and have some nourishment for the body, which the body needs or might not need as much as we nourish it perhaps, but let's go and eat. Thank you.